Hey there, and welcome back to Temporary Locals.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Megan. This week, we're talking with guest Ezra Rose about his experiences teaching English in China. But for those who don't know, Jared and we are a travel loving couple who somehow always end up feeling like locals wherever we go. From small towns to some of the world's most iconic wonders, we share real stories and history that shape the places that we've actually been. So if you're into travel, storytelling, and a little bit of mystery, then you're in the right place. And we would love it if you would subscribe and join us for the ride. As always, we appreciate any other methods of free support, such as a quick like, comment, or just sharing the episode. And with that, we will introduce our guest of the podcast. Ezra is a Hawaiian native, artist, educator, fitness enthusiast, and YouTuber. Ezra is currently teaching in Taiwan, but we are having him on today to share his experiences in China. You can find Ezra on YouTube at Art, Wine, and Anarchy. That's on YouTube at art_wine_and_anarchy. And then on Instagram, Art, Wine, Anarchy, and separated by periods. All right, with that, let's get into the episode.
Today on the podcast, we have Ezra, and you're here to talk about some of your experiences in China. So
All
you're,
right.
you're currently living in Taiwan, so you are 13 hours time difference from us. So it is early morning here, late at night there, and we just woke up.
11 p.m. here.
Yeah,
All right.
and I myself actually just got in late last night from a flight. Wasn't sure I was going to make it home because of the government shutdown and everything going on back in the States here. But I made it home, and so here we are this morning talking to you. And yeah.
You want to introduce yourself?
So you can just call me Ezra, or some of my friends just call me Easy. And so right now I'm just teaching English here in Taiwan. I'd like to get into other business eventually, like the coffee trade. So FYI, Taiwan is apparently the #2 consumer of coffee in the world. Um, so I originally had the idea of doing that in China. And people, when people say, but they drink tea, and well, my answer is, well, there's Starbucks everywhere, and this other thing called Louisa Coffee and Costa Coffee and little baristas, and just there's massive amount of coffee consumption in China too. And being from Hawaii, uh, the only place in the US where you can produce coffee, and we have, like, a lot of people think we have the best coffee. I wanted to end up, marketing that in China eventually, but you know, the uh, the world changed after COVID, and so that plan kind of went on the back burner. Uh, I'd still like to make it work eventually, but I came here to Taiwan, uh, unbeknownst to me, that this was such a huge coffee culture. And so I think I would set my sights on that goal here as well. But yeah, so I'm gonna try and compress like 3 years into whatever you do, like an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can do that. Yeah. I mean, that should be. I can tell the story pretty quickly. But,
So, 3 years you were
right,
in
here's
China. What
yeah.
years?
So I lived in China from 2016 to 2019 with about a 5 month um, hiatus where I went back home for about 5 months after my first year.
Mm-hmm.
hmm Um, but obviously my first experience was good enough to get me to go back. So,
Yeah.
but it's like anything else. You go to um, a new country, new culture, but also a culture in a country with a different standard of living. So I imagine if I had gone to, someplace in Western Europe, it would have been slightly less different from living in the U.S. To some degree, maybe in terms of sanitation and plumbing and things like that. Um, but I did live in the UK for a while when I was much younger, and so yeah, the horrible weather there.
Oh, really?
Food's not much better. Food's not much better, but well, relative to coming from Hawaii and then living in California quite a lot. But anyway, so China, 2016, I go to China. Cause I just had enough. I needed to get out. Like I had gone from one job to another, thinking, okay, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. Like I'm gonna make a career out of this or that, and then everything just kind of bombs for one reason or another. Um, but I actually used to be a plumber, and that's potentially a lucrative trade depending on where you live. But the trouble with any of the trades is that you have to be indentured for 5 years. And in my case, when your boss is just not paying you on time and not paying you enough because his wife needs to go on vacation all the time, that's
not an arrangement that I want to be in.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's when I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna leave the country completely. I'm out of here. I gave 4 years to this guy and been loyal and I'm not getting paid on time and not getting I never got a raise in that time. As my skill level went up, my income did not. So
yeah, that's tough.
Even though I was not yet licensed, but that's, you got to put in all the trades are the same. Whether you're a plumber, carpenter, or electrician, you got to be indentured for 5 years and have 10,000 hours logged on your taxes. So, yeah. But in any case, I was doing more. I was running sites. I was running jobs for this guy, which is technically illegal because I was not yet licensed. But,
yeah, it's
I
tough.
should have got.
People take advantage of you in those situations, not even just with the trades, but in the other workforces as well.
Yeah, so I was at a crossroads. I was either gonna bounce, no matter what I did, I was gonna leave Hawaii. So I was either gonna bounce to the mainland and get licensed in running heavy equipment, which I just was good at and had a knack for that, or I was gonna do something way different. And I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go to China because. Even before then, I had a fascination with the artwork. I've done Chinese painting for like 20 years. I used to teach that to adults and made some money doing that. But that went down eventually. That's a luxury kind of thing. And as the recession came in, after 2008 onward. I mean, I'm one of the refugees from the construction industry after the crash. In Hawaii, I would say from about 2006, unions were shutting down, jobs were shutting down. By 2008, I was one of the few people still in a construction gig. And that was just with this private thing. It was actually, ironically, it was with a coffee mill. building a coffee mill. Yeah,
Mhm.
building a coffee mill. I did that till about 2009, and then went through some after that. That was gone, and construction. You're working yourself out of a job, basically, right? Every day, and if there's not a new gig coming up, there's not a new site, you're done. If you don't have a union, if you're not part of a union, you don't have unemployment. Yeah, I went through some really hard, hard licks before I met that plumber, and I'm kind of great. I'm grateful. I picked up a skill with him that has saved myself a lot of money because I don't have to call a plumber. And then other people, friends, family, hire me and actually pay me better than he did. But yeah, um, I was sick of it. I bounced to China. I just took this chance. It's like just this scary, went to this scary communist place that is so foreboding, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
What was that process like? How does somebody move to China?
okay, so first thing you need, um, you have to get your visa, obviously.
So a work visa
To
or a bit?
Okay, so I'll get into that whole thing of how this went. So one thing that they do that they can do is that if you go on a tourist visa, once you have a visa,
Mhm.
because to get any visa for China, you have to go through red tape, right? So once you've gone through that process and you have any visa for China and you're physically there, they can take your existing. It's easier to take your existing visa when you're physically there in China and switch it to a different kind of visa.
Mhm. Right.
And you can just, but you during that process, you do have to step outside of the country for that duration.
Mhm.
And it depends on what company you go with, that the cost and the duration of how long it takes to switch your visa. I don't know how much. I don't ask questions. I don't even know if some of these guys do it legally. I have a friend of mine who I got to know later. He'll come up later on, but I've seen him switch a person's visa within 24 hours, which is yeah,
Right.
that's not supposed to have. That's not supposed to happen, but it was legit, and he was legally working and everything. So you know, but I went to a site called My China Visa. Now, I paid a little bit more on this site because if you go to other sites that are cheaper, they will not get you a visa unless you have to buy a full round trip.
Mhm.
You have to
You have to have a
can't
ticket
just buy
back.
one way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just buy a one-way ticket. And actually, that was one of the things I ran into here in coming to Taiwan. I wasn't aware that they wanted me to have a round trip ticket because I didn't come here I came here just with my passport. If you have a blue passport,
Mhm.
basically, it doesn't matter if you're Canadian or American, if your passport is blue, you can usually stay for 90 days with no visa. But I didn't know that they want to see your exit date.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I didn't have that. So I simply just had to sign this waiver saying that the airport has no responsibility if they let me through the gate, right? Um, but I don't think China would have done that. But whatever the process of this place where I went to get my visa, man, it was it was like twice as expensive as other places, but they didn't require me to have a round trip ticket. And this
Okay.
place is called My China. It was called My China Visa.
Mhm.
I mean, this is almost 10 years ago now, so I don't know if they're even still operational.
Yeah, I know that that's an issue a lot of places when people are going to stay into a country for a long period of time, and there's actually companies that will do border crossings for you, and so they run you across the border and bring you back, just to reset your time in the country, because like a lot of places it's 90 days, and then depending on what you're doing there, you
Yeah,
can get like 6 months. But so people in like Southeast Asia will go to those bordering countries, cross the border, and then just come back to reset that.
Time
yeah,
clock.
that's a common thing. That's a common thing. Like here, I haven't left Taiwan since I've been here, but then I was able to, because of I was sponsored through employment. I was able to get a resident. They call it ARC, Alien Resident Card. So I've had residency since I've been here, and so if I lose a job, then I go to the, because I've been here long enough, I can go to the immigration office and apply for an extension.
Mm-hmm. How long have
So
you
if you
been in
haven't been
Taiwan?
here,
Sorry.
since February, I woke up on the 1st of February 2024.
Okay.
So I've been here about 18 months. Yeah. So long enough that I have the right to have an extension on my ARC, and pay for my own medical, which is like, the state medical insurance is like $26 a month if you convert it to USD. I mean,
Wow.
that's not bad.
No.
Right.
I'm not too impressed with doctors here, though. That's what I'll say, is you get what you pay for.
No.
Right.
They seem, I think it's less about, their knowledge and more about what would you call liability,
Yeah.
rather than as like, well, this is what we're supposed to do according to the statistics. It's like, I'm your patient, I'm not a statistic. I'm an individual. They are extremely rigid and too by the book, as in, like, it's like, back home a doctor will be, well, according to my experience, blah blah blah. Here it's, well, the book says.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's about liability.
Yeah, I mean that
FYI,
makes sense.
but FYI, I don't know what's up here in Taiwan, but they are, for some reason, number one in kidney failure.
Oh, goodness. That's interesting.
Because they're number one in the number of people on, per capita on kidney dialysis. So there's something up here. I don't know what's that's about, but
I don't know.
anyway, getting back to the process of going to China. And then also I have to get sponsored to get a visa. So I have to have a person there who is resident citizen, send an invitation letter for me to the government to honor my visa and say that they're going to be responsible for me while I'm there. Basically a sponsor,
Mm-hmm.
just to get a visa.
Right.
And this is before President Xi was set in stone like he is now. This is when things were kind of like a little more Wild West when I first got there. Like, I'll get into that more chronologically, but let me go step by step. So I get my visa and I get my job and all that, my tourist visa. I got in on a tourist visa. Now, I flew in on China Air,
Oh yeah.
my first flight.
I've talked about
Have you
China
flown
Air.
on China?
I have,
Have
yeah.
you flown on China? Yeah, it sucks, right?
I liked it. We did another episode. I think it was episode 3 where I talked about flying through China. And I flew
Okay.
flying into Beijing, and I talked about just how much security it seemed to be, and how it was just a completely different vibe from other places I had landed in, other countries to like enter and stuff. China just seemed like it was very, you know, um, Big Brother, very like.
I guess my experience coming in was I mean, I had a worse time with the TSA than I did in China.
Really? So where'd you fly into?
So from the Big Island, I went from Honolulu straight to Beijing.
Okay.
13 hours.
Huh.
Now, I had a little mishap going through customs at the TSA in Kona Airport on the Big Island. So apparently, here's a thing. I don't know if they fixed this. They probably haven't. I take a lot of supplements. Apparently, magnesium must be a big component of bombs because that set off a bomb detection unit in the scanner when my bag went through. And so they detained me, and I almost missed my flight.
Wow.
They detained me. They took me in the back and they strip searched me.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, no, dude, grab my balls, okay? I mean, just and they did it twice. It's like, what did you think? I snuck something in when you weren't looking? I almost missed my flight because of that.
Wow.
And I think this was almost 10 years ago now. So I think what I did is I took that bottle of magnesium. I had them put it to a scanner so they could see that that's what set it off. I said, okay, go on. Yeah. Now I get to China, like kind of gritting my teeth, thinking, well, if the TSA is this bad, well, China must be worse. No. I get to China and they basically wave me through. They don't even make me take off my shoes. And not only do they not wave me through, I get waved, I come to the saw and there's this adorable little Chinese lady that waves a magnetic wand over me, reluctantly gives me a pat, and then lets me go. And that's it. It's like, really? That's it?
I wonder if it's a different experience to enter China as opposed to flying through China. Because, and I told this story about landing in China, and it just seemed very serious. And you get in these different lines. I remember having to do fingerprints and retina scans and facial scans and all kinds of all these processes just to get through China. And at that time, there was a lot of stories of Western tourists and travelers being detained by the Chinese government, sometimes indefinitely. And so it was
especially depending on what color you are.
Right.
They don't like black people.
Right.
And even if you're American, I have a story about that with a friend of mine. What year was it that you went through, though?
This would have been 2018. I flew from the States. It was just like I said, I mean we made it through fine and everything, but it was very it seemed serious, as opposed to when you enter Mexico or you enter Europe. It seemed very serious. People were not very friendly, and there were guys, obviously I don't speak Mandarin or anything, and they're just yelling at you, and you don't really know what to do.
Wow.
And yeah.
Wow.
And I smuggled fruit
So
through China also.
I don't know if China, South Korea though, they're dicks about that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll charge you. They'll charge you import tax on your snacks.
Yeah.
So anyway, I get through TSA, get through customs at China, which was far less of an ordeal. Like, wow, it's like, really? And then meet my guy at the airport that's picking me up, my new employer. So this is 2016 now. This is before things, this is right on the edge of when President Xi was up for re-election and, as we know, got to be elected Mao 2.0, chairman for life. And it was still kind of Wild West out there. Like, it was normal. It was like the normal thing for people to be running around, just hiding in the bushes, working illegally left and right. I didn't know it all. I didn't know all this at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I kind of learned all of this just as I went. So this guy, George, who is the husband of the lady who runs this Maple Leaf English, who was employing me, picks me up. Now, I looked up Maple Leaf English online, and at that time, they had the largest chain. They were a franchise. They had the largest chain of English schools in China. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. So this guy picks me up. Of course, we all know what's happening at this time, right? the election, the big election that everyone is going on. So one guess, what does this guy want to talk about when we get when he picks me up?
Oh man, yeah, people love American politics all over the world.
What is he? 2016. But guess what he wants to talk about?
Donald Trump.
Yeah,
And against who?
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. It's like, and at the same time as I went to China, a friend of mine went to New Zealand. We had this conversation. It's like, holy shit, man! I thought when I left the country, I'd be free of this crap. But all anybody wants to talk about is Trump and Hillary.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I just had that experience this past week. One of my Uber drivers was a guy named Dirk, and he was from South Africa, and he was obsessed with American football and American politics. Those are the two things he wanted to talk about, and I didn't want to talk about either of those things. But yeah, it's just fascinating how people in other countries, you don't think it, you know, because you think when you're in a country that you're centralized. But yeah, the rest of the world is like totally invested in what's happening in the U.S. because what happens in the U.S. politically affects the rest of the world. So people are interested, you know.
Well, we are at the moment still a global trade currency.
Right.
So anyway, this guy George picks me up, and I'm thinking, I was like, okay, cool. I'm working for this big franchise, right? No. So I'm talking to him about the job. Okay, so it's like this location of Maple Leaf. Is this like a new startup? Is this like a new location just opening up? And he's like, no, it's not that in Maple Leaf English. It's like, we're an independent. We're an independent. And then he says, okay, so when are we gonna start working on getting my work visa? And he's like, oh, don't worry about that.
Yeah.
It's okay. Nobody cares.
It's like, Chuckles, I'm in danger.
Yeah. So you get picked up one day.
So, yeah, so I get there and I'm like, okay, well, shit. These guys are not going to get me, legalized. They're not gonna sponsor me. And here's the thing, I didn't know at the time that, because I hadn't quite finished a bachelor's at the time, that it wouldn't have been possible anyway. But I didn't know that at the time. But here's the thing: is like at that time, especially up until the COVID, anyway. Even if you were like picture perfect and had all your T's crossed and I's dotted, and you had all your papers and everything, schools would still try and get you to work illegally because there's a special tax for hiring foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so mainland Chinese are just greedy to the point of being retarded. It's like just to save such a minuscule. I've had friends who have gone in and thinking that they were working legally, and they end up getting detained by the police.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, the school pays the police under the table, and then they go. Yeah, oh, that's just the way everything is done.
Mm-hmm.
I got more stories about that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Not about teaching, but anyway. So, this friend of mine, he thought he was working legally, and he actually wasn't. And so, but they were able to pay off the police to let him go, for the understanding that they would actually get his papers done. And because he had everything he needed, they were able to get him legal. Right. So that was a close call. In my case, well, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was kind of like faced with the situation where it's like, okay, I can put my tail between my legs and run home, or I can stay here and figure out how this shit works. Because if there wasn't some high probability that I was going to come out of this okay, this guy wouldn't be picking me up, right? Because it's in their best interest that I don't get busted, right?
Yeah.
Although there were some scams going on, because here's one of the crap things about China, and this is like one of the really shitty things going back to the days of the Soviets. The government will reward people for snitching.
Mm.
And so there were some people online that were posing as schools. They were
Wow.
didn't even have a school. They would bring you in, set you up, because a lot of people who were kind of savvy, they had no problem with going in and working illegally because they were just comfortable with it. But in this case, they weren't going for a school. These people brought them in and then turned them into the government for an award, for a reward.
What a business model.
Yeah. That sounds like COVID era
Yeah.
United States, though. I mean, that's what was happening here in the States. You know, the government was asking people to turn in their neighbors for, having a party.
Yeah, that is a very interesting similarity between, you know, are we really a democracy?
Right.
You know, is this becoming a communist state?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But so this guy George takes me and drops me off to my new home. So they had this idea of turning this big house that he put me in, this other teacher and this other kid from Canada. I don't even remember how many rooms were in this house.
And this is
To me,
is in Beijing.
This is in Guangzhou. Sorry. So I landed in Beijing, and then I took one more hop to Guangzhou.
And how far away is that?
So Beijing borders Shenzhen, which is the entrance to Hong Kong.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, and so the two cities to either side of Guangzhou are Dongguan and then Foshan. I think that's what I remember. It was about 4 hours from Beijing. I was brought in to replace this Australian guy who had got fired on the same day that he had started, basically.
What happened there?
He formerly had spent time in China and he spoke Mandarin decently. And so I guess he had just finished college and he figured, oh, I'm going to go to China and party and, teach English and pick up women and all that. So what happens to this kid, he goes out thinking he's all slick and, goes out with some girls and they set him up to get mugged. And whoever did that stole everything and took his passport. And of course, he was also, high on drugs. So he shows up to back up to the big house early in the morning, screaming to be let in, beat to hell and covered in blood and high on drugs. And yeah, so he lost his job on the first day.
Dang.
before he even got to sit in the classroom, he got booted out.
I feel like if there's one country you should be on your best behavior, it's probably China. It's not the kind of place you go and let loose at,
Here's the thing: if you're a foreigner in China, you're a suspect for everything first.
Right.
So of course, I never asked. I don't know if police got involved in that whole mishap, but if they did, they would have drug tested him first.
Right.
In which case, he would have been out. He would have been detained. They would have taken any cash he had on him.
Right.
And they would have deposited him back to whatever country he came from.
Well, if he's lucky, right? Because I mean, they don't have due process there like we do here. So I mean, you hear stories of foreigners and Westerners being detained indefinitely.
Here's a cautionary tale for people. One of the reasons that I don't want to go back just now. Throughout the whole world, there are MSS agents, the Chinese Secret Service agents in prison around the world. So if you come from one of those countries holding one of these agents prisoner, especially if you're like a prominent business person or anyone who makes a good bargaining chip, you can get kidnapped and held, just like that basketball player with Russia,
right?
And held to try and get one of their agents released from whatever country is holding their agents.
Right.
Now,
I mean, is there an embassy even in China? Is there an American embassy?
There is. Yes, there's an embassy in China. What power they have there is a whole nother deal.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I get to know my new roommate Stan over there, kid from Canada. So a story about the medical system there. It's super cheap, and I never had needed insurance. I paid for everything out of pocket just fine, no problem. Like you can get an MRI for like 300 USD.
Yeah.
Out of pocket. This is out of pocket.
Yeah.
So anyway, but Stan is from Canada, where they have socialized medicine, and you basically don't pay anything. Anyway, so he's talking to me about a little accident he had. This big house that we lived in also had like this gorgeous Chinese water garden.
Mm.
Now, before I got there, there used to be this nice glass bridge going over the koi pond.
A glass bridge?
Yeah, glass bridge.
Wow.
So it
Because Chinese people are relatively tiny compared to us obese Westerners. As smart as he was not smart enough to consider that maybe this was not made for a 300-pound Canadian kid. Tries walking over this glass bridge, smashes through it, cuts himself all to hell.
Oh my gosh.
Mm.
That
Falls
is
into the
awful.
dirty water. So now this is in Guangzhou, and also this is in the southern district of Guangzhou called Panyu, where it's kind of like ghetto out there.
Yeah.
Out here, the police don't show up even if you're dying, basically. And so he cuts himself pretty bad. He showed me the scar he had. I mean, I can look at that scar and say, yeah, that must have bled pretty well. And so he hobbles back into the house and he calls the two office girls that we were working with, Carrie and Abby, to come down and help him. And so he calls an ambulance to try and pick him up. And just this is all before I ever got there. He's telling me the story. The ambulance assessed, well, you're hurt, but you're not dying, so you can fuck off.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Falling through a glass
ambulance-
bridge, and they're
so-
like, eh.
So ambulance is he's cut, he's bleeding, but he's not gonna die, so that's a no-go. So and this house is a considerable walk from the side of the road, but he had to walk out to the side of the road and get a taxi to the hospital.
Wow. He's probably so shocked.
Oh, it gets better than that. The Uber driver sees that he's bleeding and is desperate, so charges him double.
Of course, yeah. Why wouldn't you? Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so he just mortified, coming from Canada with socialized, he's mortified that this entire ordeal costed him a total of like 75 Canadian dollars.
75.
Not USD, Canadian dollars. This whole thing is like, Stan, if you were in the States, calling the ambulance, and this is like 2016, it's probably more expensive now. It's like, Stan, you were in the States and you called the ambulance with no insurance. That's 1,500 USD.
Yep.
And he's like, what? He's like, what? He had no idea how bad it was in the US. He's like, are you? It's like, dude, so don't tell me about your 75 Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I mean,
And that was for what treatment? Did he get stitches or?
He got stitches and antibiotics and all of that. So that's one of the good things about being in China is like it is the cost of living is relative to us is nothing. But you have to understand for most of the people there that is kind of like a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, it's also interesting because you just kind of mentioned that he showed up kind of knowing that he was going to be working illegally, but how do you? I guess he just didn't look into medical care. I guess being young, it's probably not top of mind.
You can get insurance there, and it's supposed to be super cheap, but everything was so cheap that I didn't bother. I mean, I could have gotten insurance, and I think he could have too. Anyway, So that was for me, it was an entertaining story, from Stan about, having to spend so much money at the ER.
Yeah.
Dude.
A little perspective.
Yeah, it's like, dude, that, you can't in the US. I mean, that would, maybe you could say hello. They would charge you that to even say hello to a doctor. I mean,
Yeah.
it'd get nothing else. So anyway, originally I got there to replace that Australian kid who thought he was hot shit and found out he wasn't. And about that same time, well, Stan had already had enough and decided he was leaving. He wanted to just leave.
Yeah.
Because he came to China with a preconceived notion. Oh, this is the cradle of Eastern civilization. It's like, well, that was before the Maoists took over and murdered all the smart people and exiled them to Taiwan.
Yeah.
And you could see that in some of the older generation. You can't kill the brains forever because they're still in the gene pool. And I've worked with I have some brilliant kids to where I can definitely say to the rest of the world, you better get your shit together.
So what was that whole classroom experience like? What were your hours? How often? What's a work week like? Classroom size?
So in Taiwan, they call it. I never heard the term until I came to Taiwan. They say Bushiban, which is an after-school program. So, and in China, they call it a training center. And so, after the kids get out of public school, they go to the after-school program to learn more, to interact with native English speakers. The only thing I didn't like about the schedule is I worked Tuesday through Saturday. And so Tuesday through Friday, I get there because it's an after school program. Tuesday through Friday, I get there. And office hours start at 2, and classes start at 4. And we work till about 9:30 p.m. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's what you're looking at is these kids go to public school, and then they go to school after school till like 9:30 p.m.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's what like the U.S. has a secret weapon against that kind of excellence. So you ever heard of an H-1B visa?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would be scared for the U.S. because of this kind of this grind from these kids and all the Asian countries actually do this. This is normal in all the Asian countries that kids go to school after school.
Right.
Until like late at night. The United States though is not so much like Germany and all these other countries. The United States has this H-1B visa where they can just outsource all the brains they need from other places, and they have enough cash to do that.
Right.
So,
yep.
Yeah. So Americans can get fat, drunk, and stupid till the end of time, and we can just buy brains from the rest of the world.
Yep.
So,
which is what we do.
Yeah.
Historically, that's what we do.
And that's how it's been going. I mean, that's what they've been doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we made it to the moon, right? That's how NASA was formed, as Operation Paperclip. We took the best scientists from Nazi Germany, brought them here, and gave them jobs, right?
I was gonna say, yeah, it's like Nazis putting hand on the moon.
Right. Yep. Yep.
The rest of the world better watch out. They're not fucking around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I had those. Okay, one of my students back in China. This kid Neil. He was 12 years old. Already knew he wanted to be an electrical engineer like his father. I was teaching him college level English, one-on-one classes at 12.
Wow.
But yeah, it's scary how smart some of these kids are. And I've had some brilliant kids here in Taiwan, but We'll see. I haven't been in Taiwan as long as I was in China, so I need to give Taiwan more time before I can make a judgment.
Yeah. It is worrisome because you look at the state of education, of public education here in the U.S., and then you see these people in other countries, young kids learning, calculus. And meanwhile,
Yeah.
here in the States, they're being taught that like men can get pregnant. Like it's so crazy just how
It's the
different, and how far behind we're falling with like education as opposed to like particularly Asian countries.
it's the myth of equality and the idea that you know you have to lower the bar so that everyone can pass, but that's just not gonna.
That doesn't breed excellence.
That's
Right.
yeah. But on the other side of that coin, the damage done by the Maoists is extremely, especially in a certain generation, is extremely apparent. So, I have a few stories. Everybody's favorite story I have is about the hair dryer. So I live down the block from a Sam's Club, and I've shaved my head for about 25 years. So I walk into Sam's Club. I was not wearing a hat. So every month in Sam's Club, they have some new item out in the front floor that they're displaying. And so in this case, it was some set of like Dyson hair dryers or something. Now the lady in the front, an older lady, I walk in. I wasn't wearing a hat. She starts sticking this hair dryer in my face. And I wave her off and like say booyah. It means I don't need that. I walk past her. She starts following me with the fucking hair dryer. I had to turn around, look her in the eye, and rub my head before she went, oh.
Yeah.
It's like I don't have a beard. I don't have a beard like ZZ Top. I mean,
Yeah.
I literally don't need this. I'm not saying it because I don't want to purchase it. I literally have no use for this.
Right.
it's like, what do you think? I mean, okay, maybe you think I have a
A
girlfriend or
wife or
something,
something.
but
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
but whatever. I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah, I get it. You're grinding. You're trying to make a sale, but you got to pick your battles.
Yeah. You have to know your demographic you're trying to appeal to, right? It's like the guys in Thailand trying to sell me like nice Armani suits, and I was like, "Look at me. Do I look like I wear suits?" you know?
Plus, I know that's not our money.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, I start working for these guys illegally, and just trusting that they will watch my back and be, for their best interest, right? They don't. They've already lost two teachers before I even got there.
Yeah.
It's like the Australian guy was out on the first day, then Stan was like, "I had enough of this shit."
Yeah.
Yeah. So a story of my first year in China is slightly boring, but when you get to the second year, I think that gets into some shit. Um, so I work for these guys. I finished my contract. I'm the only person there who finished my contract. 1 year contract. That's pretty standard. I mean, here's the reality, the straight up reality. Because I was working illegally, there is no real contract. They
Right.
can't hold me to anything, but it's a promissory note. Like, okay, I will do this for you. But if I wanted to just walk away and work for somebody else, there's nothing they can do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Go to the police? Say, oh, this guy is hired illegally, walked away. So anyway, we lose that house because this person that George thought was his friend sells it out from under him. But the good thing is he puts us in this really nice apartment. And so there was like a little sign there. Like I don't know. I'm not sure if I believe in signs, but the area code for Hawaii is 808, and this apartment was 808. So I saw that and I was like, okay, maybe there's something going on here. To this point that I finally started getting into it and start making all the friends and connections that led to me wanting to go back. So the first English teacher that came in to replace Stan was this guy another guy from Canada. And this guy was a retired lawyer. And he was also, he could have definitely worked legally because he was a professor of law at Humboldt University and everything. But he had done this for so long, and I think he knew the head lady of the school. Her name was Angel. So this is Robert R. So Robert R comes over to replace Stan at first, and him and Angel. I mean, you can kind of see that they've known each other a while, right? They made along the way. So Robert R comes in to replace Stan, and me and him got to be friends. I'm still in contact with him, but he left. He made up some crap about how he had to go up and take care of his parents back in Canada, but he just didn't like how disorganized the whole system was in their little school, and he just wanted to leave. He did not go back to Canada. He went to Thailand to party. So anyway, so now we're there with Chris. So they didn't really understand that Chris was unwell. So this guy, he had an extensive resume of teaching English all over the world. He had taught in Korea for several years. He taught in Baghdad for several years. But somewhere along the way, he had a stroke, a very bad stroke. When you see this guy, you look at him, you immediately know there's something wrong. Just, like you can tell that one side of his face is paralyzed. His eyes are not in the right direction. For some reason, George and Angel didn't get that because they video chat. Any time you get a job before you go to these places, they video chat with you. They want to look you in the eye.
Yeah.
And look, I think it's because they were just desperate about him. But yeah, he was not a good teacher for kids. Mm-hmm. And he had a lot of problems, like, I mean, not just with his health, but just his attitude. He had a stroke and he still smoked. And let's just put it this way. We hung out a lot. We got to be friends. He gets to China and he's like, God, I wish I had some real food. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is some of the best shit on the planet here. This is Chinese food, is the real Chinese food now, right? Real Chinese food.
Right.
You have like gourmet, like what I thought of was, just fine, really great food, like right everywhere, practically. And he just was just such a meathead Westerner. He couldn't get through it. So I should, backpedal just a little. After Chris came in, he would hang out at this place behind the campus we worked at called Crazy Pizza. And the guy that ran that place, he was a Chinese guy, but he learned how to make pizza in Boston. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Chris would hang out there, and then this is where I got to be, to this day, friends with this guy Robert B. He was an agent who was he was a hustler. He was an agent who was trying to place English teachers. So he got to be friends with both of us, and he wasn't trying to pull us away from that job or anything, but he would take us out and show us around and all this and that. And then that was at the same time William came in. And of course, William, I introduced him and William, and they got to be pretty tight. But when William told Angel that he's taking this other job down in this city called Zhongshan, she basically kicked him out on the street. Now, she can't legally do that. She can't actually call the police, because she'd have to explain what this guy is doing in this apartment that's supposed to be under her name. Right. Anyway, so Robert B got him this little place to stay until he was ready to transition to his new city down the way. So that again leaves just me and Chris in this place. So this one I get to be friends with Robert B., who he had an interesting background. He's from Canada, but he finished high school in Hong Kong, so he was fluent in Cantonese, which is the native dialect of the Southern District. In Guangdong province, it's the native dialect of that province, is Cantonese. So if you can speak Mandarin, that's great, but down there, especially in Guangzhou, they don't care what the government says. They're Cantonese. And if you don't speak Cantonese, you can fuck off. Like even if you're Chinese and you don't speak Cantonese, you can fuck off. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those funny things like that. But he is black and was fluent in Cantonese. He was married to a Chinese lady, and his brother-in-law, of course, was Cantonese, Chinese, local to Guangzhou. So he was a good connection for me. I mean, he wasn't my agent yet. He would be later on, but he was just a friend of ours that would help us get around and just understood the connection that foreigners needed to like get around in that place, to get around there, because not just of the language barrier, but of the multiple language barriers. Because especially in Guangzhou, it's like you've got Mandarin, but the local dialect is Cantonese. Yeah. And anyway, so I get to be friends with Robert B. So Robert R is gone. Chris is still there. William is gone. So around my own neighborhood, my apartment, I get to be friends with my best friend out there. Gets to be a circus performer.
Wow.
So I didn't even know he was my neighbor. His name was Derek. And so I started hanging out with circus folk and this English teacher, and I'm hanging out with circus folk. But not just that, this guy's been there a while. So he worked for the circus, and then he would DJ at all these nightclubs, bars, and stuff. And so I get to be really close with like all the circus performers and all these people who own all these bars and nightclubs. So I get to be pretty good friends with a lot of people that got a lot going on for them over there. They've been there a long time. Derek was not married, but other guys were married to locals, which is I believe it was actually required for them to hold businesses there.
Mm-hmm.
To actually be married to a local. So when I first got there, I was like not sure I wanted to go back. But once I got to make all these connections, it was completely changed everything. So Derek is like one of those, one in a billion kind of people that you meet. Like he'll give you the shit off his back.
Yeah.
And so I finished up my first contract there. So I'm going to go and visit William in this other city, Zhongshan, while I'm transitioning because I need like an extra week before I fly home. But I have to get out of this apartment. So I asked Derek, can I stay with you for a little bit while I'm transitioning? So I just take my bags and I go down to the 5th floor. So I ask him which room is mine where I'm staying. And he hands me the keys to his apartment and he says, I'm going to go stay with my girlfriend. You have a good time. And I held on to those keys for like another couple of years, after that. But that's what he did. Is like all his close friends, he had a set of keys for everybody that they could just kind of come and go as long as they let him know that I was going to be there. So I visit William over in Johnson for a week. I come back to Guangzhou and pack my bags. I go home for like 5 months, and I thought that I was going to have this job teaching art when I came back. And so when I was ready to come back, I contacted the place, and I was still naive. I didn't understand how things worked. So, I wasn't going to go and grab the job immediately. So that means they just handed it over to the next person who was ready.
Oh.
Right. Now, especially in China, they don't care. They'll give a job to anyone they can scrape off the street as long as they can make money. I mean, it is a con man's paradise. You don't have to know how to do anything but lie and take people's money and you can get rich. So the job was off the table and I'm like, but I really want to go back. So I called Robert B, and says he's an agent. So I did not have a full bachelor's finish, but I had an associate's degree. Now he's from Canada. They do things differently. And so he's like, okay, so you have some kind of a degree. So he got me a job in Shenzhen. So my second year in China started in Shenzhen. And so that was with this guy, Dr. Marcus, who on paper, which in China doesn't mean shit, on paper was just like, was really happening and had a lot going on. You look at his advertisements and all that. He had like 26 different schools and 70 teachers running around. So, okay, I tried to trust Robert. I thought that he actually I thought that he had actually physically gone there and met this guy and vetted this place. Right? Mm-hmm. So I go in thinking, okay, I'm finally going to do this right. This guy, I talked to this guy. He said, yeah, I can get you a work visa. We're going to do it. We're going to do it right this time. So here's the reality. He did not have 70 locations. He had a partnership with many other training centers where he provided them teachers, but they were not his. Yeah. Those that were his were in these many apartments that he rented throughout the city that had teachers living there and teaching there where they lived, right? Which I guess was kind of a common scam out there, but this was my first time experiencing that. Mm-hmm. Now, who did he hire? What kind of people did he hire? I think he was kind of excited about me because I was the only person he had there who was not from Eastern Europe or a Westerner who was had a drinking or drug problem. Mm-hmm. So as of this time, once I was with him, my name officially on paper became Axel. He was kind of like an online whiz. He created fake papers to send to these places where they worked. And it was like, so now Petrov from Russia is Peter from Texas. Mm-hmm. So there's that guy, then all these other people from Russia, Serbia, all over Eastern Europe, who he was trying to pass as native English speakers by giving them fake documents. Yeah. Wow. Because he doesn't have to hand this over. He's not handing this stuff over to the government. He's just handing this stuff over to these schools that think that these documents are real. Yeah. They don't know. Right. Yeah. Because we don't work for them directly. We work for him and like contracted. Yeah. So as far as they know, so we're not employed directly through the school. He is employing us. And the school is just using our services. Sure. And they're trusting that he is doing everything legally. Right. My mind was made up from day one. I'm getting the hell away from these psychos. Yeah. Robert had not been there. He had not actually seen what I was in the middle of. I thought he had actually been there and vetted this place. He was trying to convince me to try and stick it out. But I was like, dude, you don't understand. Okay. You do not understand what's going on here. So before he finally found what he claimed to be a secure place to keep me that would be safe, like in terms of work, we kind of went around and I saw how they did things. So I remember going out to this place I think they're trying to get a new client. And we're going to do and work with these kids and entertain these kids and teach them. And so on the way, we check out another location where this girl from Croatia was there, and she was kind of like holding that place down and getting it ready to go into operation. And so this guy, Dr. Marcus, he asked, I didn't know what this meant at the time. He asked me, would you like a Canadian water? So I say, okay, great. So he comes back with a crate of Moosehead. It's like, oh, okay, like pints. And so these guys run around all day loaded working with kids.
Wow.
And this guy, I'm pretty sure, like, I grew up around, I hate to say that, but I can tell when somebody's on meth. That guy was a meth head. He did not sleep. He was a workaholic and did not. I mean, that's one thing I'll give him, man. He could grind. He was a workaholic, but he did that because he was a meth head. I could tell. Anyway, so he dumps me in this kindergarten that's in this mall, a really fancy place. It's like a wonderland for kids. I was like, man. So he says, you'll be safe here. This place is partially owned by Huawei. They own the local police. No one can touch you here. Okay, great. Except this was during the national convention in China. And Shenzhen is like their tech capital. So maybe the local police can't do anything, but they were bringing down people from Beijing to make an example of all the guys hiding in the bushes working illegally. Oh man. Yeah, so this is where it gets kind of juicy, where I'm in the classroom one day and one of the TAs comes in and she's just like frantic. She's like, take a break. And it's like, okay, I know what's going down. So they were getting raided by immigration. I was the only Western. Everyone else there was like Russian and Serbian and all of that. And so, but it doesn't matter. I mean, if you don't have your right documents, you don't have the right documents.
Yeah.
And so,
So other countries do this too. It's not just the U.S. because a lot of people with everything.
Of course, yeah.
Everything going on with ICE right now in this country, people think that we're the only ones that enforce immigration, but
ICE has started to raid Hawaii now too.
Yeah.
In Hawaii. So anyway, so they push us down this fire escape, and we all scattered to different places. And so I'm in the back of this 7-Eleven, just laying low with this cute Serbian girl.
Hey.
And yeah, and everybody thought, everybody believed my name was Axel, but she's like, Axel, what are we gonna do? It's like, this is part of the game, This is like, you signed up for this. It's like, so just hang out and just wait. Either the police will come through that door or they won't, And so we just hung out there until they went away. And Robert calls, gets me on WeChat, and he's like, dude, are you all right? And all this and that. I guess he got wind of what was going down. And it's like, yeah, I'm just hanging out here in 7-Eleven waiting for whoever to tell me when the coast is clear. Nobody got tagged that day. Which is good. Now here's the thing: the guy who runs that kindergarten, who also has no idea that. Well, he probably had some idea, but generally had no idea how badly Dr. M was lying to him about, anybody he sent there.
Yeah.
He comes out, he tells us this bullshit about, the police didn't get their red packet in time. It's like, no. It's like, this is not, I knew what was going down. This was not the local police. So he tried to lie to us to gain our confidence. So the next day, we were all supposed to go back there to have a meeting about what had happened to the school. I didn't go back. I just stayed in the apartment. So the next day after that, Robert calls me up all panicking. He's like, dude, you got to go. You got to get out of there. Dr. M is pissed. You made him look bad. He's kicking you out. You have until 12. It's like, dude, I packed already. I never even unpacked. I've kept my bags packed and ready to go this whole time. You haven't been listening to me, but now you're listening, right?
Yeah. Wow. So that was your experience in your second year.
That's the beginning of my second year.
Yeah. So is that one of the main reasons? Because I know in our conversation you've kind of alluded to, like, you don't think you'll go back to China and kind of like having some negative experiences. Is that that's just kind of the start?
No.
What happened through your third year that made you not want to go back?
Yeah. So it's more about everything that's happened since the COVID. That's really what has changed things. But I mean, Because you got to remember, that was my second year, and I stayed a whole nother year after
Right.
that. Yeah. So, at that same time, like a little bit before that happened, this other guy that I got to be friends with called James was down there in that same city where Robert got him down there out of another bad situation. Now he's one of the guys who came to China and he had everything legal and in place and no problems, but he had to leave this other job for health reasons. Now, when you get a job in China, you need three things. You have to have a work visa. You have to have your work contract between you and the company you're working for. And you have to have your FEC, which is a contract between you, the government, and the company you work for.
Okay.
That you're going to be legal there. So, the FEC has an expiration date. For you to leave a job, it's not just a contract with the company. They have to release you from your FEC. So even though he had a note from his doctor saying, I got to go because my lungs are suffering from the air up here. He was up north where there's more industry and the air is much worse. But they're like, oh, you think you can just come here and just bail on us like this? So they refused to release him from his FEC. That's supposed to be illegal, but not only was he a foreigner, he's black. So good luck with that. They really don't care what happens to him. People talk about racism in the U.S. Other countries are far more racist than the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially Asian countries.
Yeah.
So, it's like all the people who cry about racism in the US, they have no fucking clue what real racism is.
Right.
I mean, Jim Crow was dead and gone a long time ago, and that's it. We don't, the racism in the US is like hidden in small corners. You go to China, Japan, Korea, and all that, it's in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I went back to Guangzhou and I visited Derek and told him my situation. And I said, this is some weird shit down here and shit's going to hit the fan. So when that happens, can I, come up here and crash with you? It's like, yeah, of course. So I had my stuff all planned out for this shit to happen because I knew something was going to happen. Just, I didn't know what. I just knew that whether it was a police raid or me just saying, fuck you, I'm leaving, I was going to have to run for the bushes and just, get out of there. But so after that, so Dr. Marcus gets pissed off and kicks me out of the apartment there. He actually tried to put out a fake PSA, trying to say that the police raids were fake, that it was government propaganda, even though we had been through them.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because the other Eastern Europeans actually somehow didn't know what was going on, Robert filled me in what was going on. This is a national convention. This is not local police. This is immigration from Beijing coming down to, try and make an example of people who are not falling in line. And so I told all of them what was going on. It's like, this is not local police. This is immigration coming from the top. And you're not going to take a red packet. Just go away.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So that made Dr. Marcus look really bad. He's one of the reasons that, he doesn't have I have a new passport now. It's been 10 years. But at the time, he had my current passport information. So here's the thing. It's like with these training centers, they make a lot of money. Apparently, this guy, Dr. Marcus, was also supplying English teachers for the people who run who run the borders, and so he could actually have had me blacklisted from the country if he wanted his friends to do that, because they got English teachers from him, right? But anyway, so I get out of there, take my bags, and I go stay with James for like 10 days until Robert figures out what we're going to do. So from there, I end up going back to Guangzhou. But in the 10 days, here's what was going down in Shenzhen, though, because this is the national convention. You talk about police state. So he was down in the southern end of the city. And I don't know why that place was so popular, but it was a hornet's nest of police. So I'm going down, and there wasn't so many police out yet. At some point, they all just kind of exploded on the street. But when I get to Decathlon, there's a police officer in the front door checking everybody's ID, passport, and everything before they let them in the store. So I'm like, okay, I don't know if anybody saw my face at this kindergarten I was at, but maybe it's best if nobody sees my passport. So I know that Decathlon will have a back entrance. So I try to go around the back. And there's this parking area. And I go in there and there's a line of police officers. Their backs are to me. They don't see me. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to turn around and go home now. Forget about the pollution mask. I'll get it later.
Yeah.
So on my way home, though, at every intersection now, suddenly there's police officers posted. Now, fortunately, there's zigzag, where it's like they're on alternating sides of every intersection, checking everyone's ID as they go through. And they have like this flashing light. So you can see them from a distance. So I see the flashing light. And I'm like, okay, fuck, I'll cross the road here so that they don't check my ID. And then I see the flashing light in the distance. Okay, cross the road here. They don't see my ID. And then it's like, oh, and then there's like an armored carrier full of police cruising down the street, eyeing me out. So I jump into a 7-Eleven, act like I'm shopping, and just hang out there till they go away, and just keep doing that until I get back to James's apartment. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Wow. Talk about nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, if somebody saw my ID, it might not mean anything. They might not have my face on record or anything, but just in case, it's like, don't need anybody checking.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I'll make it back to Guangzhou eventually.
Yeah.
I go up there first, and I'm, going to crash with Derek, and then James comes after me, and Robert has him set up in this cheap apartment out there. So I spend like a month in Guangzhou staying with Derek, going from one job to another, getting jerked around, and I was ready to give up. And it was actually, I was so discouraged. One night I was sitting on Derek's couch and I was online. I was about to book a ticket to go back home. And then I get a call on WeChat from a friend of Derek's, who's this big business guy. He just happens to be in town and he wants me to go across the street and hang out and talk to him at this place called The Brew. So I go over there, and this guy, Mike, his wife is local Chinese. She's trying to run a summer camp and winter camp for public school kids, and she wanted a teacher to get in with her thing. And so Mike, though, him and his brother run like 8 businesses, and he's a multimillionaire. So I was about to give up, and then they contacted me. And they wanted me to accompany them on a trip that they're taking to Western China. They're going to go to 3 cities out there, sign some contracts with some public schools, and then their friend was signing contracts with colleges to get college students for his university and also in Illinois. So they get me a ticket, and I meet them at the airport. And we all fly together out there. And they just wanted me to hang out and do what they do and see what they needed from me in terms of the summer camps. But I had a good time with them. They put me up in the spa. Oh, I had a great time for that week. It was like a total turnaround. But the real interest, though, is their friend with them, Dr. Khan, who owns East West University in Chicago. Also became interested in hiring me to recruit for his college because his whole thing was he ran a nonprofit university in Chicago for the purpose of uplifting immigrants and lower income people. And so he was trying to make a bridge to China. Now, granted, this is in 2017. It's still 2017. So I'm going through Sichuan. We went to 3 cities. We went to Chengdu, Luzhou, and Wenchuan. Wenchuan was the place where that had that massive earthquake in 2008 that wiped everything out. And so down there, nice people, nice little town. They rebuilt like crazy. The one thing that they left, though, they did not fix the clock tower because the clock tower's time was stuck at the exact moment where the earthquake began. So they left the clock tower. They left the clock tower in that time right there.
Interesting.
Yeah, but they had the whole museum. They had the whole earthquake museum showing how everything was devastated and how they rebuilt and everything. Anyway, the real memorable night was at Aba University. That's where Dr. Khan was signing a contract to try and get students to come to his university in Chicago. So they had the headmaster of the school. He was another guy who really liked to drink. And so they brought out this stuff called Luzhou Laojiao, which is basically like moonshine, like rocket fuel that they had there. Mm-hmm. So the national drink of China is this stuff called baijiu, and it usually is like 60%. This stuff, this Luzhou Laojiao, is basically just local baijiu to the city of Luzhou. Anyway, this guy brings out a fancy bottle of this stuff. And me and him, at the end of the night, end up going toe to toe and finishing that thing off.
Oh, wow.
And so that was the entertainment. That was the entertainment for the night. It was like me and him going at it, where we're going shot for shot. And this is, and I'll give him credit. He's an older guy, and he's not a big guy either. It's like I had both the age and the body weight on him, and we're going toe to toe. And so first, they take these. Their shot glasses are these tiny little things. These tiny little things. And so we eventually were like, we just threw those away, and we were drinking from the pitchers.
Oh, boy.
That they used to pour into the shot glasses. But anyway, Robert gets back to me. He had found me a job at a college. Yeah, he had found me a job at a college. And so this was as soon as I got off the plane, getting back from this trip with Mike Mary and Dr. Khan from Western China, I went to the interview with these people. And this was the weirdest thing ever. And this is just where the whole game of cloak and dagger just continues. So I have an interview with them, and they liked me. And that night, they kidnapped me. They had me go to Derek's place, pack a suitcase, and they shipped me to the college.
Mm-hmm.
That night.
Wow.
Like they basically kidnapped me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what was going on here, but knowing China at this point, I was like, okay, some shit's going down.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go to the office the next day and start getting oriented on what I'm going to do. Now, I was brought in on this pretense that I was going to be a TA, that I would not be the main teacher in the classroom, that I was going to be assisting the lecturer. Okay. So I get into the office the next day. I was brought in on the pretense that I was supposed to be a TA. And then I get in there with the office with Ken, and I'm looking over the papers, trying to get oriented and, pick up where this other guy left off. And I'm talking to Ken about my job there. And so who am I going to be working with? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, who's the main lecturer in the classroom? It's like, you're the lecturer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, holy fuck, I'm a college lecturer all of a sudden. I better figure out how to do this. Yeah, so then Ken is like, nah, man, what the fuck? Why they gotta lie to everybody all the time?
Yeah, it seems like in all your stories, you work a lot in ambiguity and really have to lean on like your adaptability skills to just kind of take on.
Yeah, I saw the opportunity, and my income at that point, my salary was more than 2 times what I was making before. So this opportunity was like, I'm gonna fight for this. I'm not gonna fuck this up. So I learned how to do this. I was in that office from like 7 a.m. to sometimes 11 p.m. 7 days a week, busting my ass to try and get good at what I was doing there. So yeah, so I kept that job for a couple of years until there came to be a turning point. Now this is when President Xi was elected president for life, chairman for life, and showed his true colors. He was doing a lot of great things when I first got there in 2016. I was impressed with him. But after he got elected chairman for life, he went full Maoist. And then also they were implementing all the facial recognition. And the time that I decided to leave was one of those situations of get out while you're ahead. So I finished up that last semester and left in July of 2019 to go home and take all the money I made there and finally finish a degree that I could work legally anywhere. So, FYI, also this was also all illegal the whole time.
Yeah.
But this college was out in the middle of nowhere. It was in like Foshan, but not in the main city. It was out in the middle of the farm lots, out in, it's like a self-contained little community city, housing like over 30,000 students in the middle in the sticks. So it's like no one's gonna look for me out there, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
but that was that. So
yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, so many experiences in just short amount of time.
And getting to meet so many people, is,
Network.
So, yeah.
Well, that's why I want to go back to China just because of all the people I made there.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, we really appreciate you telling us about your experiences in China and all the things that you got to do and see. And it's great talking to you.
I mean, there's always more to go over, but that's the gist of it.
Right.
Where I started and where I ended and how I got there. Yeah, it was interesting and no regrets. I mean, it was wild. It was wild.
Yeah.
Write a book someday.
Yeah.
There you
Make
go.
a Netflix series.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your experiences teaching English in China. There's a lot to learn about the visa process and potential scams in the industry, so we enjoyed having you on to discuss your experiences abroad. So, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, all right, guys, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, we are Temporary Locals. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Instagram. You can find Jared on Instagram and YouTube at Rover Stover, and then you can find me, Megan, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook at Mego Goes Global. Once again, we'd appreciate a quick like, comment, or share on the episode. Helps the algorithm, helps us go far. And with that,
I'm Jared.
And I'm Megan. Thanks for exploring with us.
And remember, be a local anywhere you go.
Bye.
Bye.